New Zealand. When many people hear the name of this country, what comes to mind is probably its overwhelming nature. Snow-covered mountains, deep, clear lakes, valleys carved by glaciers, rivers flowing through ancient forests, and quiet fjords. It feels almost as if the memory of a younger Earth has been preserved here, untouched. But what NEOTERRAIN wants to look at today is not the beauty itself. It is the question behind that beauty. Who protects it? And what should we be willing to bear in order to pass that beauty on to the future? Nature cannot be protected for free. But can we really turn nature into just another thing to be sold? Today, from New Zealand, we explore nature and economy, Maori philosophy, and the future of tourism. NEOTERRAIN. To the next field. New Zealand has one of the strongest images of any country in the world. Beautiful nature, hills dotted with sheep, clean air, a land of adventure and healing. But this image of a beautiful country is not just scenery, is it?
No, it is not. For New Zealand, nature is not simply a backdrop. It is a tourism asset. It is an export image. It is a form of international trust. And in a sense, it is the nation's brand itself. In other words, nature is not the background. It is the country's calling card. Visitors come to see mountains. They come to see lakes. They come to hike. They come to experience fjords. Nature itself has the power to draw people in. But this creates a major dilemma. The more beautiful a place is, the more people come. And when people come, trails wear down, waste increases, safety management becomes necessary, pressure on ecosystems grows. Nature may look free, but opening nature to tourism comes with a significant cost.
So nature is not merely something that exists there. It is something being opened while constantly being protected.
Exactly. If nature is opened, local economies can grow. But if it is opened too much, nature is damaged. If nature is closed off, the environment may be easier to protect. But communities that depend on tourism may suffer. New Zealand is now being asked how to design that balance.
One development drawing attention is the plan to charge international visitors entry fees at some natural sites.
Yes, according to reports, from 2027, New Zealand plans to charge international visitors around 20 to 40 New Zealand dollars at popular natural destinations such as Milford Sound, the Tongariro Crossing, and Aoraki/Mount Cook. At first glance, this may look like turning nature into a product, but from another perspective, it is a system that asks visitors to share the cost of preserving nature for the future.
Putting an entry fee on nature. There is something uncomfortable about that. Mountains, rivers, and seas should not belong to anyone as products.
That is exactly where the difficulty lies. Charging money itself is not necessarily the problem. The real question is, what is that money used for? Is it used to protect nature, or is it used to justify even more tourism development? The meaning changes completely. We are moving from an era in which nature was consumed as a free backdrop to an era in which the burden of protecting nature must be shared. New Zealand stands at that turning point.
Are we charging money in order to protect nature? Or are we changing the rules in order to make more money from nature? They may look similar, but they are very different questions.
Yes, the point is not simply to put a price on nature. The point is to take responsibility for our relationship with nature.
There is another perspective that gives the New Zealand story much more depth. That is the Maori view of nature. In New Zealand, there is a worldview that sees nature not merely as a resource, but as an ancestor, as a being with personhood, and as a relationship.
One symbolic example is Taranaki Maunga, In 2025, New Zealand passed legislation recognizing Mount Taranaki as having legal personhood. In other words, the mountain is treated not simply as land or a resource, but as an entity with rights and responsibilities.
A mountain with personhood. That is a powerful shift in perspective.
It is. For Maori, the mountain is not just a landscape. It is an ancestor. It is a spiritual presence. It is a place deeply connected to identity. And that worldview has now been incorporated into the legal framework of a modern nation-state. That is extremely important.
On one hand, New Zealand is trying to manage nature as a tourism asset. But on the other hand, it is also trying to respect nature as a being with personhood. Those two ideas exist within the same country.
Exactly. In New Zealand, two views of nature intersect. One is the view of nature as a national brand and tourism asset that must be managed sustainably. The other is the view of nature as an ancestor, as a person, as something with which we must renew our relationship. They may seem contradictory, but they ask one of the most important questions of our time. Is nature something we use, or is nature someone we live with?
The word tourism has a bright sound to it. Travel, encounters, experience, spectacular views, escape from everyday life. But from another perspective, tourism is also an act that places pressure on land.
That is true. Tourism moves local economies. Hotels, transport, restaurants, guides, souvenirs, local jobs, many industries are connected. But at the same time, as visitor numbers increase, infrastructure is strained. Natural environments are pressured. The lives of residents are affected. Tourism has both the potential to enrich a region and the risk of exhausting it.
This also connects to Japan. Kyoto, Kamakura, Mount Fuji, and many local destinations. It is good when people come, but when too many people come, daily life can begin to break down. A place can be a tourist destination and also someone's home.
Exactly. That is why the important question is not only how many tourists come. The question is, what does tourism leave behind? Not only money, but systems for conservation, respect for culture, relationships with local communities, and responsibility toward the next generation. Without that level of design, tourism becomes nothing more than a strategy for attracting visitors.
Turning tourism from consumption into relationship.
Yes, and the idea closest to that is regenerative tourism. Tourism that helps protect nature. Tourism that supports local culture. Tourism that circulates value within the community. Tourism that helps residents regain pride. From tourism that does less harm to tourism that helps places recover. That may be the future New Zealand is searching for.
When we look at New Zealand in this way, the question becomes very complex. Protecting nature requires money. But if nature becomes a product, the very thing we are trying to protect may be transformed. Tourism supports local communities, but too much tourism can exhaust them. Nature is also a resource, but in Maori philosophy, nature is also an ancestor and a being with personhood.
That is why the core of the New Zealand story is not simply how should nature be used, it is how should we renew our contract with nature. Modern society has developed by using nature, cutting trees, mining minerals, developing land, turning landscapes into tourism assets. But that way of thinking has reached its limit. So what comes next? Do we completely close nature off, or do we expose it entirely to the market? New Zealand seems to be searching for a third path.
Protecting nature without selling it.
Exactly. Charging money is not wrong in itself. What matters is whether that money becomes a system for passing nature on to the future. Accepting tourists is not wrong in itself. What matters is whether tourism ends with the consumption of nature and community. And turning nature into a brand is not wrong in itself. What matters is whether respect and responsibility stand at the center of that brand.
New Zealand. What exists there is not simply beautiful nature. There is the perspective of a state that manages nature as a tourism asset. There is the Maori perspective that honors nature as an ancestor. There is the institutional perspective of sharing the cost of protection. And there is the future perspective of transforming tourism from consumption into regeneration. All of these intersect quietly among mountains, rivers, and forests. Nature cannot be protected for free, but it must not be reduced to something merely for sale. What we need is not simply to put a price on nature. What we need is to take responsibility for our relationship with nature. Visitors, residents, nations, businesses, and the next generation. All of us stand before the same question. How do we receive beauty? How do we use it? And how do we leave it behind? New Zealand is quietly asking the world that question.
Protecting nature does not mean placing nature far away from us. It means redesigning our relationship with nature. And within that relationship, we must think about economy, culture, law, human desire, and responsibility all together.
Nature cannot be protected for free, but it must not be sold. Somewhere between those two truths, the future of tourism may exist. Until the next field, this has been NEOTERRAIN.